Welcome to Morning Infusion with Dr. V, where we are intentional about connecting you with other entrepreneurs that have overcome and want to provide value to the audience. It's Dr. V here, where our coaching program teaches nurses to work from their computers anywhere around the world, making money and owning their own time, building profitable nurse coaching and consulting businesses. So we have today our friend, Gail Gutierrez. She just taught me how to say her name. I just want to let y'all know that, okay? She's amazing. And so tell me a little bit, give me your bio, if you had to give your bio.
I became a nurse a little bit later in life, even though it was my calling since I was a little girl. I always have liked helping people and doing anything I can to help people better themselves. So after being a bartender, a teacher's assistant, running different stores and retail, I've found that everything I'd ever done in life really made me a great nurse. And so went to nursing school, ended up having gotten pregnant halfway through, and had my child the last or second to last semester of nursing school. So walked across stage with a 3-month-old baby, and that started my nursing journey. I went through cardiac telemetry as my first nursing area and went to float pool. So I learned everything in acute care, got a master's degree, became a manager, led a lot of different teams on project improvement, and realized that what I'd set myself out for in nursing was not where I was going to go once my son was diagnosed with autism. So, life throws curveballs, but you have to be flexible. And now I am a nurse manager or leader at a local hospital and a entrepreneur owning my own business, and spent a couple years travel nursing. So I got to see a lot of our great country and different health systems and realized that, really I want to be able to help others have flexibility in their life. And so started my nurse coaching business.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That flexibility and that pivot. I had a lady that was pregnant during the time that I was in school to get my LPN. And at that time, I didn't understand because you have to be pretty resilient in order to go through nursing school and to be pregnant and to have a baby and to come back. That's a whole thing, right? Because she literally had the baby on Friday and came back on Monday. I mean, that's crazy, crazy, crazy. So kudos to you for doing that. Kudos, kudos, kudos. So now tell us a little bit about your son.
My son is Jason. He is a 7.5-year-old, very energetic little boy. When he was about 2 years old, he had started having some regressions. So speech regressions, limiting his diet, being very unflexible in the way toys were arranged. Even just basic communications, there was barriers. So we went through a large amount of testing to kind of rule out things like hearing loss or swollen lymph nodes, things along those lines, and found him not only to be speech delayed, but also to be in fact diagnosed autistic. So with that, you have these dreams and aspirations of what you're going to do in life and what your children are going to do. And it's kind of a startling awakening when you get that diagnosis and you realize, okay, life's going to look a little bit different. So that best laid plans of mice and men little quote that a lot of people use truly is something when you're a parent with a child with autism that you really have to take into account, because you might think the day is going to go one way and it goes completely the different way. You have to learn a whole new way of communicating, find what clicks for your child. It's very involved in therapies, from ABA therapy to speech therapy, feeding therapy, occupational therapy, and then trying to juggle whatever aspirations you have for your own life makes it quite interesting. My son is a very happy little boy and very affectionate. So not what you would think of when you think of autism as a diagnosis. He is standoffish to people he doesn't know, but especially females, once he warms up to you, he is cuddly and super affectionate and just hilarious, has the funniest sense of humor. So smart, but it's just getting that verbal piece across he struggles with. And, he drives for sensory input. So when you tell like a typical child, hey, get off the couch or don't climb that tree, it's not the same as if you have a child that's persevering over it and they're like, bouncing off the walls. You're like, hey, that's dangerous. That sense of danger isn't innately built in. So you really have to be a nurturer and be a teacher to your child. So like Jason's current, besides trains, biggest attraction is he loves water slides. So it's now like an every couple month thing. We go to Great Wolf Lodge and have a family outing and let him kind of get all of his, wiggles out and have a lot of fun with them. And, then he comes home and he's a lot more regulated. But, just finding something that clicks for them, that helps them really feel loved and supported and help them explore themselves is probably the biggest thing with having a child with autism.
So I thought, and I guess this is my limited, I guess I didn't know. So when you have a son with autism, I thought that they do not like sensory input, or is that some children with autism, or is all, you tell me, because I'm
So
lost.
that is a pretty common belief. It can go either way. They can be sensory divergent or sensory seeking.
Okay.
So when they're adverse to those sensory issues, like children on the spectrum won't like certain textures or certain sounds. In my son's case, like if he hears a song recorded by one, recording artist or recorded in a certain key, if he hears it in a different key, it bothers him and he'll put his hands over his ears and start screaming. But when it comes to like textures, he's not adverse to them. He really isn't adverse to being in large crowds as much as it kind of like ramps up his energy, while some children will just completely avoid anything that's too overwhelming, kind of like the nursing diagnosis of like sensory overload. So it really just depends on the child, but autism is a spectrum. So like a child might have some divergence in one area or adverse area, and then another area where they really want that sensory input. Like deep pressure is something that's really big with children on the spectrum to help them regulate deep pressure on all their main joints. So just like squish, squeeze, and it helps them regulate their vagal system and parasympathetic nervous system.
I love it. Jennifer Parsons says, I understand her daughter's the same way. I love, love, love how, when you are the parents of the child. I remember I had a kid that came in to the emergency department, and his dad called, and his dad said, I need to bring him through the back door. And, all parents say that, right? They all say, well, he needs to come through the back door because, you're not going to be able to handle him. We were not busy at the time, so we were okay with doing that. So we came through the back door. We got him registered. He had a laceration to his head, and he said it's going to take several of you to hold him down. And sure enough, and he was 16 years old, but he was probably about 6'3", like he was huge. And sure enough, I mean, it took one that we thought he could hold him down, and then it finally took like three big guys to hold him down. Physician came in and stapled, boom, 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 and then he got, like, we got him out. And so it's good that you're there. It's good that you're a nurse. It's good that you understand and that you're able to advocate for him. So I love that. So now tell me, why did you want it to go into business for yourself?
Well, I think flexibility was the main thing. And I mentioned that earlier when I was in nursing school. I had originally planned on, going to be an ED nurse and then an ICU nurse and become a nurse practitioner. Well, when, my son was diagnosed, that changed my reality because clinicals becoming a nurse practitioner is so lengthy that I couldn't take the time away from my son and his therapies to do those clinicals. So I ended up going in for my master's of leadership and management because just life in general draws me towards mentor and leadership roles. So while I had been, changed my course of nursing and become a travel nurse in the pandemic to help in the front lines, I found that I actually had more flexibility as a travel nurse than I did as a manager or even as a bedside nurse, because I could, spend 6 days working and 6 days at home. And so it actually gave my family more time. Well, while I was traveling, I had had a lot of bright ideas of ways that I could help other nurses, and actually, you know, came across you and your program and found it to be that missing link that I didn't really. I had my idea of what I wanted to do. I knew my purpose, I knew my why, but that connecting piece of how to get it started was what I was lacking. And after taking your cohort, I was able to connect all those dots, which really helped with that flexibility piece because you really can work from anywhere in the world and on your schedule. So even though I am a nurse leader at a hospital, I can devote some time to my clients and help them become the best them they are and establish their dreams and still have enough time to be a full-time mom and assist with my son's therapies and not just run myself ragged, which I'm sure every nurse can relate to. You get off a 12-hour shift and you're just dog tired, your brain is mush, your ambition, you had all these plans of what you're going to get done, but there just isn't enough hours in the day. So, really taking on the responsibility of my own business gave me that flexibility to where if I want to, I don't have to be at a acute care center for, 40 hours a week. I could literally stay home the entire time. But I'm personally one of those people where I'm very social. So I love my clients, but I also love people. And so I can have a major impact, not only in the acute care world, but also in the nursing world by having my own business.
I love, love, love how you are mirroring that because I think that some people think that, when you go into full time entrepreneurship, you're just supposed to quit your job and then you're supposed to go into full time entrepreneurship. And that's not really how it works a lot of times. The job kind of funds the entrepreneur journey, right? And understanding that that is key. And you were so good. I mean, by the end of the program, you had already one client and then two others that were interested, correct?
Absolutely. And, really happy to say that my first client is, really just amazing in her feats and bounds. She took an idea of a healing clinic and really put a new twist on it. And the great thing about having your own business, and especially a coaching business, that you have that fluidity to work wherever you are and wherever your clients are. So even though I'm 1,500 miles away, which I wasn't originally, I'm still able to serve her and really be there as a coach. And her business is, about to really just fly off the handle, which is amazing for her, because it is such a niche market that there's only one or two centers in like the West Coast. And so she's going to have this large market that there is a need for and a huge interest. And she already has appointments booked out 3 months ahead.
Oh, wow. Wow. I love it. And and that's the thing too, is that when and I say this to nurses all the time because we cannot in the realm of the healthcare, and I call it sick care because that's what it is, right? We cannot in that realm really, really affect change, right? Because you're it's almost like like an assembly line almost, right? Because you're getting patients through, and I mean, we're caring for them, don't get me wrong, but we're caring for them, but we cannot affect in 10 days what has happened over the last 10 years. And
Absolutely.
it being very intentional about being proactive, right? And so that's what this, her health and wellness system is doing, right? And so this is the impact that I see with VP nursing and with your business as well. I what I see is it being almost like a mecca, right? Where we are coming in and we are helping other nurses build their nursing programs because in intent this is the goal, and it's not because of economic power. So please be clear about that. I do want economic power, but not for the reasons that some people think. Economic power in the sense of um, we want to have 10,000 nurses to be six-figure entrepreneurs and 1,000 nurses to be millionaires. And the reason why is because of the impact and because of the freedom and because of the way that nurses care, because we care differently, right? We have this unique, innate caring for people that is very different. I can't tell you how many calls that I have been on with nurses. And I say, I ask them about their financial goals, and I'll say, so why is this important to you? Every single time, without a shadow of a doubt, every last one of them say, I want to help people. They never ever think about themselves. Never ever. And that is where we are. We're in this space where we want to help other people, but we have to be very proactive in helping other people. So I love, love, love what you're doing. And you're so, one of the things that I like about you, Gail, is that you're so, like, you show up in excellence. You show up and you perform. And that was the reason why you had a client by the end of the program, and had a full return on investment, along with the knowledge in order to be able to extend and grow more. So I love it. So tell me a little bit about your experience with VP nursing, a little bit more.
Well, VP nursing really, like I had mentioned before, helped to be that link between what my dream or my idea was and how to actually make it functional. I found your cohort to be not only informational, but also like a pep rally and a sounding board at the same time, because not only are you vulnerable as you're starting out this new journey of an entrepreneurship, but it can get overwhelming. And I always say, how can you eat an elephant? Well, you can only eat an elephant one bite at a time. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to eat the elephant. You might get a toe, so I really think that your program was great about teaching bite-sized pieces. And there were a lot of check-ins, like, how are you doing? How do you feel about this? What can I help? So, you really acted as that servant leader in that as well, which I think in every aspect of life is something that we all need, like as a leader and as a client or a follower or a patient, whatever it may be, we all need a little bit of guidance. So that with the nurturing aspect where, every little win, even if it was something as simple as, hey, I got my email address, like that's something that we don't think is going to take leaps and bounds, but that is a huge thing when you're, in general, we are all our worst enemies. I always say carpe diem is my slogan and has been for like 20 years, because you have to seize the day. Nobody is going to give you the results you want in a day except for yourself. And I mean, any one of us can really sit back and make excuses, but we have to be held accountable. And through your program, not only was there an accountability piece, but it was like a gentle accountability. It wasn't like, oh, if you don't do this, you're getting a punitive action. It was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, could have went one way, but you're still trampling on, you did get this accomplished, but let's move this goal forward a little bit. So it really taught those healthy habits, as well as not being too hard on yourself. That coaching factor is invaluable, quite frankly. And, being in a cohort, people we are all competitive by nature. It's not something that maybe is a huge part of our personality, but everybody wants to have a gold star. Everybody wants to be successful in whatever they're accomplishing. So in the cohort, you really get to see your team members grow. You get to see your cohort partners and their wins, and get to celebrate those little things with them too, which gives you that happy, intrinsic, go-getter feeling, and allows you to reach those goals as well. Because of course we're also animalistic, and we don't want to be left behind. Nobody wants to be out of the pack. We all want a sense of belonging. So we all move through that cohort as a team and see each other's wins, celebrate those wins. And, you really do such a great job of not moving along when it's not ready, as well as if like somebody is going, to the next step, taking that time to set aside and help them through what they need, if it might not necessarily be what the group needed. So I found the experience to be something that even when I was, dead tired after working 6 nights straight and having no sleep, keeping my appointments and keeping my calls and getting all my to-do lists done, because it did keep me accountable. And it was really a motivational thing. So, I mean, without that support structure, I don't know that I could be as successful as I became.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And you were and are successful I'm gonna stop this cam for just a second because my face is looking a little blurry. But yes, you were extremely successful, and I'm super super proud of you. So I want to pivot, and I want to start talking about the vast areas. So first, we need to talk about your business. Okay, we want to talk about what you are doing for the nursing community.
Well, I think that one of the things that started the idea for my business was just every nurse is burnt out, especially with the pandemic. And stepping back from management, going back to the front line as a travel nurse, I really got a better grasp on the pulse of nursing. And, we have as nurses so many skills. There's so many things that we just do. We don't even think of them as a skill. Like you mentioned, caring. We legitimately care for everybody we come across. And every nurse is like, oh, I have to work extra 12 hours to pay this bill, or to pay for my kids expense, or whatever it could be. And so what if you took that corporate mentality out of it? So, you're not working for the overtime or the extra shift bonus, that literally you have poured your blood, sweat, tears, feelings, emotions. You've cried with your patient's family, especially through COVID. And then at the end of the day, your cup is empty. And one thing that I always, mention that you have to have a full cup, and I try to be optimistic, but you kind of brought it to another level. If your cup is full and overflowing, it can flow into saucers. And I know that this is a paraphrase, but those saucers are what you give to other people. Instead of diminishing your cup, you give what's extra and put them in those multiple saucers. So that way you can actually feed, so to speak, or feed the soul of more people. And so through my business is pretty similar to yours. I help nurses get that independence so that they don't feel that they're stuck in that rut of bedside nursing or acute care nursing or whatever field that they may be in. But everybody has some idea of how they could make the world a better place. And when you can empower others to run with that idea and show, hey, it's possible. Because a lot of the times, like I said, we're our own worst critics. Well, your best friends also might not be your cheer squad, because you're like, oh, well, I want this goal. And to somebody else, it may seem impossible, but you see the whys, you see the why you want to do it, how it can impact people. And I mean, literally, this is our ad pie of nursing 101. You assess the problem, you diagnose it, and then you rock it through, every one of your interventions until you find your conclusion. And then you can kind of do a PDSA cycle and regroup. So really, establishing your own business is just that, is making your S bar, making your ad pie, and working your way through it. And, I've been able to help a couple different nurses that were bedside nurses to find that goal and start working towards it. And like the client we were talking about before, actually establish a clinic. I mean, that's a huge impact. How many people is that going to impact just by her one idea alone? And like there's a nurse practitioner who is recently finishing up her program that is utilizing services as well. So just it can be anything from an online coaching business like mine or yours to having a wellness center. I mean, where it's a physical brick and mortar building. So that is really the power of having a coaching business. And, the great thing about my business is that as time opens up or other ideas come into play, being a coach, you can coach in so many different areas. It doesn't have to be just to other nurses. I'm a coach to patients, and I am also a clinical trials nurse. So my business alone has so many different hats and lucrativity that I can go into so many different areas and help people across the board.
I love, love, love how you talked about the patients and how you are coached to the patient. Because the deal is that, I was listening to one speaker over the last couple of months that I went to a conference. I went to the conference and she talked about the fact that she used to be in HR. And so she hated her job in HR. And so she decided that she wanted to start her own business. And when she started her own business, she when she got ready to hire the people that she was hiring, what although she hated that job, that skill set came into play when she started hiring other people. And so, very much in the way that the skill set that we have at the bedside, right? You talk about coaching the patients, you talk about coaching other nurses, right? Coaching is something that comes into play once you figure out the nuances, right? You figure out what works well, what does not work well. You can take that skill set, you can monetize it and not be tied to the bedside, right? Of course we're going to have nurses that need to stay at the bedside, or need to be at the bedside, not stay at the bedside, but need to be at the bedside. Obviously we need nurses, but at the same time, whenever you have a collective of nurse coaches who are able to literally change the face of healthcare as we know it, then that's a game changer. And so I am so proud of you. So proud of you for everything that you're doing and how you have, helped this young lady to move her business. And this is the thing, is that you have to be one step in front of the other person, right? And you have such intuitiveness, that you were able to do that without a shadow of a doubt. So I'm just super proud of you. So Laura West said, "You ladies are amazing." So now tell us about some other ways in which nurses can expand and serve in a better way.
I mean, aside from just coaching, there's mindfulness that we teach our patients every day. We all have that skill, and we take that moment to sit back and do that check. And that's a part of self-care, which is a whole nother line of entrepreneurship. Because nurses were great caregivers, except to ourselves. We are always the worst patient. And I know somebody in my cohort that was literally one of was her business path was teaching that self-wellness portion. And there's just so many different things we can go off of, teaching how to be a better leader, not even just teaching, but doing in services. There's exercises that you can teach. And organization, nurses are amazing organizers. So tap into any skill that you have as a nurse, and you could literally monetize any one of them. And one thing I can definitely say about becoming an entrepreneur is it really does change your life world. So not just you now have your own business that you can formulate and run the way that you see fit to better the population, or better a specific population like nurses or women, or whatever demographic you're aiming to. But when you go into your regular typical full-time job, so to speak, like your nurse leader job or your bedside nursing job, it literally feels like a bondage has been lifted off of you, because now you see that this isn't the all. You aren't stuck. And I think that that's something in our profession that so many people resonate with, is sometimes you just feel stuck. You know that your calling is to be a caregiver, but you don't realize that being a caregiver can be so much more than just being at the bedside. I love patient care, and that's one reason why I'm still hands-on. Even as a nurse manager, I still will go change a patient, answer a call light, pass meds for my nurses, clean somebody up, ambulate them, whatever it may be. But now I have more joy, like kind of it's renewed, like that sense when you first graduate nursing school and pass your NCLEX, and you're this big bright-eyed doe and you think everything's going to be perfect and you're going to save the world. Then you realize, oh wait, I can only impact this. Like you said, it's so fragmented, it's like an assembly line. So even if you are a CNO, you only have an inch that you can actually affect policy change. But when you have your own business, you could literally affect any point of wellness, from the caregiver to a system level. I have a colleague who literally does a mindfulness coaching and has grown too big. So they have hired on 12 other professionals that are also doing this mindfulness coaching. And they get contracts with huge corporations and huge hospitals, mainly to help check in with the caregivers, the nurses and doctors, because, we don't care for ourselves as well as we care for others. And so really taking that mindfulness moment has, been a life changer for her and her family. And now she works from home. I actually met her when she was She was like a PR person for one of the universities I went to. And so a very different role, but those skills that she had, she kind of transformed into this mindfulness business. And, it is literally rocking. And, that is so inspirational for us all in what areas we can move our thoughts and our skills to.
I love it, love it, love it. Now, tell the audience where they can find you.
Well, I am on Facebook. GG Nursing LLC is my tag, as well as on Instagram. And my website is ggnursingllc.com. Book an appointment with me. Love to talk to you.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. So we have our masterclass tonight, 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock, guys, is the last time that you will be able to register for the masterclass, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, okay? And we're going to be talking, it's completely free unless you want to upgrade to have a conversation with me. But we will be talking about 7 ways to monetize as a nurse coach. And also we have the 6-Figure Nurse CEO Conference coming up.
Yay.
It's going to be fun. February 24th and 25th. It's going to be from 9 until 5. It's going to be in Rockmell, North Carolina. It's just going to be amazing. Early bird pricing will end December 15th. I have extended it to December 15th because I wanted to offer it to the masterclass tonight. But that will be it. After the end, it will be full price. And so I encourage you to go ahead and sign up for that. And that's it. So you guys have a phenomenal rest of your day. Thank you, Gail, for coming on. You are truly inspirational. I love you. And you guys have a phenomenal rest of your day. Bye-bye.